Welcome. We are back. Another week in the market. Song is very slow. Let me change it. All right. All right, let's get into it. Pretty good day. I mean, the market overall closed flat, but small caps and mid caps did lead. That's a little bit of a trend shift that we're starting to see. And if you go literally back to last week, we were talking about the potential for this because of that Russell 2000 small cap index breakout. Remember we talked about weeks back. I mean, I can give you the dates. Back in the beginning of July is when really the large caps, the QQQ, the S&P 500, that's really the beginning to mid-July is when those indices were breaking out. But the Russell 2000, the small caps, they only broke out a week ago, in the beginning of this month. So now you're seeing after that breakout from the small caps, they've really been kind of leading the way, at least for the last week or so. And it's been really interesting to see that we have a lot of big earnings this week for a lot of those names. And then we also have CPI on Wednesday morning at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, so we had Clover today, which we're going to be talking about. I did pull up a couple articles, or just an article and then their earnings, I guess. So I'm going to talk about that. The CLOV swing already hit 2 out of 3 targets. So we're going to talk about that after we talk about crypto and the other markets and the stock market. We're going to get to it. But you did have CLOV today, Blink today, Upstart today, Palantir. Let me actually see how some of these did. So Palantir was before the open and it closed down 14%. Upstart was after the close and it was up 9% during market hours, but then after hours it fell 15%. CLOV closed down. CLOV was up 4% at the close, but then after hours it fell 11%. Blink. Blink was down 8% after hours, and then you also had Lemonade, which was up 14%. So it looks like Lemonade's the main one that had a good reaction to earnings today, up quite a bit. And then we have Coinbase and Roblox tomorrow. Those are huge. The Trade Desk too. Unity, Wish, tomorrow's another huge day. Celsius, Win. Yeah, you got some travel in the morning too with Spirit and Norwegian, even Hilton. So yeah, another huge day tomorrow. You even have some EVs, Workhorse in there, EV Go. Oh, you have Cisco, Planet. Yeah, it's just a really interesting day tomorrow as well. Jack in the Box, Wix, Disney, huge one on Wednesday. Rivian after the close on Thursday. And yeah, a couple others in there. So another big week for earnings. Let's head back over to the charts. Let me talk about crypto for a second, then I'll talk about other markets. Then I'll give my breakdown for the overall stock market, my thoughts on where the overall market is heading throughout the course of this week and maybe the next few weeks. And then we'll talk about the swings. Pretty much every single swing I've alerted recently, except for one, has hit its target in terms of non-premium swings. We had the SHAK swing hit a target, the SOFI swing hit, I think, 2 targets. CLOV hit 2 targets. FCEL literally hit its first target today. And we're just waiting on, hopefully, Best Buy to be the next one. But huge recent round of swings. I mean, this is what the sheet looks like, and it's pretty much looked like this for the past few weeks. 100% win rate for, I think, 3 weeks in a row now or something. You can always check that yourself. Go to the links tab in the Discord, scroll all the way up, and you'll see the weekly sheet link. You can go see literally the last, I think, 90 something weeks. literally the last 91 weeks of me alerting swings publicly. All the stats are on that link. And if you want to join the Discord, the link for that is also in the description. Now, with all that being said, let's head over to TradingView and let's get started with the cryptos. So Bitcoin had a good day today. It did bounce up a few percent, and this is all happening off this. You can kind of extend it, honestly, off this like bull flag breakout. And yeah, you're moving higher again. So I kind of delete both of these. And there's a couple ways you can look at this on the 4-hour. I think the most important thing is to chart this 4-hour demand line. And then maybe you connect these highs, maybe you connect these highs, however you want to look at it. But hopefully you can just hold above this demand line. You can see you have two touches or two taps, kind of mixing up my words there. Two taps like right over here, and then the third tap kind of solidifies it because you did bounce off of it. So there you are. And then just if it can take out this most recent high, there is the first target of the crypto swing, hopefully waiting for us. And then Litecoin also having a good day. This swing is up 11% since alerted, also just testing another resistance. So you're getting a good trend for right now. You're making the higher lows, and hopefully you're going to make another higher high, right, which would be above that most recent high you just put in. So hopefully that's the next move to come. Chainlink, another crypto I recently alerted for free in the Discord, hit its first target today. So this was alerted at $6.35. The first target is $8.67, and that target hit today. So officially hit the first target of the swing trade. Great stuff there. That's a 37% profit. The next target's up at this 958 resistance level. That'll be a 50% profit if it gets there. In terms of the technicals, you're still making those higher highs and higher lows. As long as you do that, it looks fine to me. And now let's move on to other markets. First, we got the US 10-year, which is just kind of like, I don't know, I would look at this honestly as a little bit of a bear flag. It's kind of like it's testing this breakdown of this head and shoulders neckline, and I think it's just creating a bear flag on that test. Who knows? We'll see what happens, but right now it's in a short-term downtrend, and unless you probably like break this supply line, it's looking like that's just your trend for right now. But you can see you could chart a supply line here, and you did actually just recently rejected this green trend line, so there's that. Then we have crude oil, which has headed lower after the $93 support got broken. The next support I had charted was about 85 from this resistance at the end of last year, and you got almost down to that level, and then you did print a little bit of a bullish engulfing candle pretty much. And now it's starting to flip again. You have some classic bullish divergence on the daily. I'm trying to hold in a sneeze right now, but you are in this down sloping channel, and you have that classic bullish divergence. So it's just a question of, can you break out of this whole entire resistance area? I mean, you've got the supply line of this channel, you've got the 200-day moving average, which is that yellow line, and the previous support that you broke at 93, all lining up in this resistance here. So that is a pretty tough resistance there. And next we've got the metals, which is actually interesting. They're continuing higher. So gold is actually breaking above a pretty big level here, which is 1780. There's a few lows if you look in, like, this low and this low. It's actually trying to break above that, even though you do still have hidden bearish divergence developing. And silver, you're stalling out on the hidden bearish divergence. It's not developing because you're not losing the momentum on your MACD for right now. There's still a potential for it, but you're not really developing it right now. And then you did get a bullish engulfing candle, so interesting day. I didn't really see that happening, but it happened. I don't know. And now we've got dollar currency index. If you really zoom in, you probably could argue this is hidden bullish divergence over here, and then you kind of broke out of a bull flag. So if the same variable that played out over here plays out again, this could be your next move up. We'll see if it happens, but this is very, very identical to literally right over here, where you had the same exact formations on your MACD and on the actual chart itself. So kind of reset that. And then finally, we have the Hang Seng Index kind of selling off here. We can actually take a look at BBBY for a second, which was on this week's watch list for premium members. But you're just like in this down sloping, broadening wedge in terms of the Hang Seng Index. Looking at BBBY, this is actually a bit interesting to me because it made this big move after breaking out of this huge down sloping channel. It's literally been in since, I think, all-time highs. The whole entire downtrend was just one like wedge. Then you broke out of it, and then you made a nice move. You went up about 30-40%. And now it's actually dropping back down to those same lows, and it's currently at a slightly higher low, which could set you up with some potential hidden bullish divergence on the daily. And there's even more context if you go over to the weekly on this chart. It's like one huge bullish shark, and this is kind of your reaction low. And if you can just make a higher low or even an equal low, that could set you up for your reversal. I don't know if it's going to be something as crazy as that, but just having some fun here. It's something to keep an eye on, not necessarily like for literally like tomorrow, but just over time to see how it reacts to these general lows over here, which used to be resistance actually back in 2015. So just something I've been keeping a little bit of an eye on since we're looking at the Hang Seng Index. And yeah, let's move on to the overall stock market now. Let's see. So we've got the S&P 500, and right now, to make things very simple, all you're doing is testing this zone right over here. Alright, so this zone was your support not once but twice. This is when Russia invaded Ukraine, and I remember this day. I think this was a day like you gapped down so much, and then like literally right off the open, like you saw one of the craziest mornings. It was just a really crazy day for the market. It was like a new fresh low for the year, and then you just went all the way back up. You kind of had a dead cat bounce, and then you retested those lows. You bounced off of it again. Then you eventually broke them over here, and then when you broke them, you ran back up to those lows, and you tested them as resistance back in the beginning of June, and now you're testing that same exact level as resistance. So we're kind of looking at the same level from the past. This was being used as like the lifeline for the market back in February. That was like your major double bottom low. Then you eventually broke it and you went much lower. And since you broke that level, it's been your big resistance. You've not been able to get above this level since you broke it in the beginning of May. So for 3 months, this has been like your top level for the market. We're witnessing whether or not it's going to continue to be that top level for the market. Probably sometime this week, we're going to get a more clearer picture. You're still just testing it for right now. It's really a 50-50. But this is the main area that I'm going to be watching on the SPY. It's like this, like, I mean, if you really want to extend, you can call it like a 407 to like 418 range. In general, if you want to go with an exact high, it's somewhere around like 417.5. That was pretty much your high of the day today almost, and your high from June 2nd. But this is a critical area. This is the biggest level that you're testing in the market right now. I don't know if you made a slightly higher high, but you could pretty much also call this classic bearish divergence, whether you want to call it, if you want to zoom in and call it class A, or if it's just the same high, you can call it class B. But you do have a little bit of classic bearish divergence as well here. So if autopilot mode continues and you break above this high and flip into support, that could set you up for continuation. If the classic bearish divergence plays out and you start selling off, then I'd say your next major supports are like down around like just the 390s in general, probably. It even dates back to some highs all the way back over here. So this is a critical area for the market. This is what I'm keeping an eye on throughout the course of the week. Let me clear everything up now. I'll just reset the chart. And there you go. So yeah, it's pretty much the SPY on the daily. On the 4-hour, you've still got triple classic bearish divergence. You did kind of paint this 4-hour shooting star candle. And if we go down to like the 1-hour, I still have this like channel, upsloping channel view. You're still within the channel, you haven't broken the demand line. But again, if you do really start rejecting those highs and that bearish divergence, not only on the daily, but also the 4-hour starts to play out, keep an eye on this channel breakdown. And then of course I have all these levels charted. So that's the big test. It's really like, and it's probably going to happen pretty soon. And honestly, the catalyst for it, unless we have a crazy day tomorrow, I don't really know what tomorrow looks like. Maybe just get like a little bit of a dry volume day because everybody's waiting for the CPI. But the CPI on Wednesday morning could actually be what determines whether or not we break above this major level, which again dates back to these June highs and these lows. Whether we break above that or whether the bearish divergence plays out and then we break this channel, and then we're going to have to test all these different supports and see how we react there. But that's really the story that's being set up in the beginning of the week that I'm trying to show to all of you. Again, it's really still 50-50. But it's looking like the confirmation could come in the next couple of days, and that could set up the next big trade for either the bulls or the bears. So that's really what I'm going to be watching for this week. I'm probably just going to be focusing on day trading until we get that signal, whether it's a breakout or a breakdown, and then I'll kind of take it from there. So that's the analysis for the SPY tonight. The Qs are very similar. It is slightly above a big level, which is these lows over here in last May 2021. And then March lows, you're kind of actually using that level as support. So it's a little bit better than the SPY, I'd say, from a technical standpoint. But they're probably going to both end up doing the same thing at the end of the day. So, you know, really not too much of any difference. The 4-hour is classic bearish divergence. We also have a 4-hour shooting star candle. So we'll see what happens. That's really all I can say for the Qs right now. Just kind of focusing more on the SPY, actually. But we can move on to the area of the market that actually was outperforming today, which was your growth stocks, your small caps, all those types of names. So we'll get started with the Russell 2000. you didn't even backtest the breakout. You broke out of this down sloping wedge and you just kept running. So the Russell gapped up today. You did have some names like AMC and GameStop. I'm not sure if they're like still included or whatnot, but you know, they kind of relate to a lot of these different stocks. And those were up huge in the morning. They did pull back later. But big day for the Russell 2000. You were able to get above the resistance level I was talking about last week. You got over this level on Friday. You had a big bullish engulfing day, and you kind of got the fall through price action today with the gap up, and then you saw off a little bit throughout the day. But you're above a major resistance, which means it's now your support. So 188 is now the support level for the Russell 2000 because you just broke above it. If you start losing momentum on this MACD, then look for that potential classic bearish divergence, the same as the SPY on the daily, but you're not losing that momentum for right now. And I'd say next resistance is this 200-day moving average and the psychological level up at 200. So that's the Russell 2000. Then you've got the ARKK ETF, which had this breakout of this range and also the breakout of its downsloping channel. There you go. It's moving higher. It was up 1.5% today, and a lot more at one point. Actually lost most of its gains. It fell like 3% off the top. So I guess it was up like, I don't know, 4.5% at one point. But it looks like it tapped this $52 level, which was right over here, this support level and this high, and that was kind of your high again today. And in general, it is testing a big level we were talking about last week, and it's actually slightly above it, but it's these highs from like 2018 and 2019. That $50 level was key, and you actually did close above it today. So you're testing that for right now. We'll see if it can hold above it. We were talking about those shooting star candles, and that's kind of what happened with the price action from today. Okay, you had a good morning across the board, but you lost a lot of those gains, which kind of developed a lot of those shooting star candles you see on the 4-hour and the daily. So that's something to keep an eye on going into tomorrow. Futures are slightly green. That's really where you're at. So that's the overall market. Before we head into the swings and stuff, I'll talk about AMC and GameStop, which went crazy today. Just a reminder, AMC was alerted as a swing. I think back in May, towards the end of May, it was like right after this wedge breakout. So, I mean, literally almost at the bottom, I alerted AMC as a swing. Now, the third target was at 1865, but it's still running after. It literally only hit the third target on Friday, and then it just kept going. But yeah, AMC is kind of squeezing right now. I don't really know what the short interest looks like, but, you know, let's just say shorts aren't doing too well, even if it's not a high short interest. And yeah, AMC going crazy. This is something we were talking about last week. I don't know if we can find it. We probably can, but yeah, literally over here, that 1470 level, this is where it all started. I still remember off the top of my head, calls were alerted in premium literally right there last week. And since, like, literally it's been just straight up since it broke that level. That was the key level. I was even talking about the level the week before on the stream, and since it broke that, it's just been a crazy movie, pun intended, for AMC. In terms of where it is right now, kind of in the middle of nowhere. You did break above the 200-day moving average, and you do have a little bit of support around like 20 bucks. It's a psychological level, and it's, I mean, it's a huge level. If we go way back in time, it was support in 2014, support in 2016, resistance in 2018, support if you really zoom into some of these lows. That's your major support now around 20. You've got resistance at today's high of day, 27.50, and then after that 29.24. Then GameStop also had a huge day. We were talking about this range for a really long time. Let me go to the 1 hour. This was the range we were talking about. It had a fake breakout, which was right over here, and then this is probably the more realer breakout, what you're seeing right now. So that's been playing out pretty nicely. If we go back over to the daily, these are levels I've charted for GameStop. That's really all there is to say for that. And now let's get to the swings. We'll start off with CLOV. So I'm going to start with the technicals, and then we'll move on to the earnings. So keep in mind, it did fall after hours. Down at 3.04, so it's showing 340 over here because that's where it closed at, but it's actually at 304 after hours. But before the market closed, before the earnings came out, at the high of the day today, the CLOV swing was up 43%. It actually no, at the high of the day, it was up almost 50% pretty much. So I alerted CLOV as a swing at 237. At the high of the day, it was up 50% since then. Testing your 200-day moving average. The last time you tested this 200-day moving average was also a major top, but hopefully this is not a major top, but it was back in September of 2021, and this was what I coined as the 50% move in 20 days that nobody cared about back in the day, for those of you who were around then. But yeah, this all started well before the earnings. and you had this breakout after bouncing off of $2 multiple times. That's why I alerted the swing trade over here, and almost three out of the targets were hit, and now you're kind of back down again to this 304 level, which is kind of around over here. But that's just really where you were at. You went up to test the 200-day moving average right before the earnings. We talked about that huge breakout last week. So now that it's at 304, you're kind of back down to this area. You're actually a little bit higher. So really, I mean, we're gonna have to see what it looks like tomorrow morning in pre-market, but you're kind of around over here. So the big support is like the upper 280s, I'd say. It used to be resistance over here, and then you broke it, and then you flipped it literally into support. So you're slightly above that major level. That's a major support level to keep an eye out for. And then, you know, with the gaps, if you probably gap down tomorrow morning unless something happens in pre-market, you're gonna have gaps in both directions, or mainly to the upside. You have this kind of, it's weird because you did gap up, yeah, literally this morning. But now if you gap down to this level, you're gonna have like, I don't even know if you consider that to be filled because you never really filled it during market hours. But you got all that stuff. It'll probably be more clear on the stream tomorrow night. And yeah, we did have the earnings today. I'll start off with this. An evolution of leadership roles to best support future growth. I know my screen's kind of cutting it off a bit. Alright, so this is something that really doesn't surprise me. I just remember from back in the day, and again, I've really not been the one that's kind of been the best at delivering news that kind of stick to the charts, but I remember watching like Coach B and Tar Heel and just all of their like earnings breakdowns and everything. And it always just felt to me that Andrew was kind of the one that was like answering a lot of the important questions and just had like a better day-to-day grasp of what was going on. And I just felt like he just gave a lot of a more clear like direction in terms of his answers to questions and just a lot of like press releases and stuff. So I always focus on more of what he had to say rather than Vivek, but that was just me. And so yeah, I think it's as of 2023, yeah, effective on the first day of next year, Andrew will become the CEO, and Mr. Garrett Pauly will continue on with many responsibilities in the role of executive chairperson, working closely with Mr. Toy to ensure a seamless transition and long-term collaborative relationship to best achieve Clover Health's mission to improve every life. I'm not sure if there's anything here I should be reading. It just looks like the overall message. I've been dedicated to the success of Clover from the very beginning, investing over $40 million of capital to build a business. I truly believe in the fundamental value of this company. That's why I've never taken a salary or sold my shares in this business. It has long been our mission to improve every life by helping to improve clinical decision making. Just trying to look for anything else. So yeah, that was pretty much it. So you did have that, and then in terms of the actual earnings release, again, this is really not my expertise and everything, or just really where I like to focus my time on. Let's see, can I zoom in here? I don't even want to try. Actually, we could try. All right, so let's see. The MCR I think was down here. So the second quarter built upon the advancements achieved during the beginning of 2022, resulting in an insurance MCR of 92.1%, which is down significantly year over year, but I think it elevated from last quarter due to unfavorable prior period development and traditional industry seasonality. Again, this is the part where, yeah, I don't really know what that means. I'm gonna be completely honest. But yeah, so for full year 2022, Clover Health is reaffirming its guidance. Insurance membership is expected to average 84 to 85K, a growth rate of 26 to 27%. As compared to 2021. Total revenues are expected to be in the range of $3 to $3.4 billion, and insurance MCR is expected to be in the range of 95% to 99%. Adjusted operating expenses are expected to be between $330 million and $345 million. There's a leadership update. And then just looking up for a second here, the lives under Clover management, insurance members went from 66K to 86K year over year, it seems. And then revenue year over year went from 412 million to 846 million. Net loss 317 to 104. Okay, so those are your numbers. It did drop after hours 11%. you know, it's really up to you on how you interpret this long term for the company. From a more short term standpoint, I don't see anything that's like, you know, a super large effect. I don't think a 10% drop on earnings is that crazy after the run it's already been on. You have to remember, this is a stock that was running up to the earnings, right? So you could already have argued that some sort of news was already priced in, whether even if you did get like really good news that came out, like it's already been on a really good run. It just went from $2 at the lows up to literally $3.55 today. So it's already had a pretty nice run. It's pulling back 10% on that earnings report. That's it. I mean, I'm really not that surprised by anything. It's not that complicated to me. Just taking it for what it is. I'm just going to see how it reacts to that $3 level. Hopefully it holds its support. It just broke above it. Would be great to hold above it. You did have this nice bullish engulfing candle on Friday. Again, that really doesn't mean much at this point. But now that you're back down to like these areas, hopefully you can just hold this most recent low from that low on Friday, which was 286. All right. So that's CLOV. 2 out of 3 targets hit on the swing. Let's move on to FCEL. This is the most recent swing that I've alerted in the Discord. This was alerted to all of you on July 28th at 360. The high today was 459. So yeah, boom. Really quickly, first target already hit. I mean, I was even talking about the hidden bullish divergence and the breakout on stream last week and in the Discord. As you can see, broke out of the wedge, it went up to the resistance. Really good move. It even gapped up very nicely today. So hit the first target for a 22% gain. It's now testing these highs over here. If that breaks, my next target's up at 475, which is around these highs from the beginning of May on FCEL. And that's really it. You do have a gap fill to the downside around let's see, around like 416. So you have that. Then we have Best Buy. This is I think the only swing outside premium that's yet to hit its first target. So yeah, you might be testing a little bit of a breakout here, at least short term. We were talking about this little triangle last week on the stream. So kind of a mini breakout here for Best Buy. And if you can just get above this high of the day today and this high back from like July 25th, which even lines up with this gap fill level if you really look at it. This whole entire resistance here, you get above this, then you have no resistance until that first target. So hopefully you can do that and just stay above this supply line breakout from today. That's really it for Best Buy. We have SOFI, which was flat today. This is a swing that's hit 2 out of the 3 targets as well. Hopefully you can just hold above this resistance at 773 from this high and this low. And then in terms of its current resistance, or hold above this support, it used to be resistance, but hold above this support at 773. And your current resistance is around 850-ish, which actually lines up again with the gap fill from the past. So that's the SOFI swing. Then we have SHAK, another one that's hit multiple targets. Seems like it hit the second target on Friday for a 30% gain, pulling back a little bit off that resistance level. Third target's up at 63.67, which is kind of far from here. But if it is able to break that 55 resistance, maybe heads there. In terms of support for this one, it's this resistance level you just took out around 49.31. I guess I can keep that charted. Then we've got, I think it's just, we did Clover, Best Buy, FCEL, SOFI, SHAK. Yeah, so we have Fisker. It's not technically an official swing because it had to get marked to break even when it fell back to the entry over here. And then it kind of ran up to hit the target, but it is what it is. Fisker's been doing something interesting for the past 4 days, and it's been gravitating to close, or really the past 5 days, in this area. And I mean, just look at it. You know, you close the day on the 2nd over here, you close the day on the 3rd over here, on the 4th over here, on the 5th over here, on the 8th over here. So if we take away all the candle wicks through the day, you're just kind of opening and closing around this like upper $9 to under $10.50-ish area. So it's like a 50-60 cent range in terms of where you've been closing the day. But in between that, I mean, you've had to move all the way up to 11.50-ish almost, and then all the way down to 9.30-ish almost. So I'm not close. Fisker is getting these like large intraday moves, but it's just continuing to close around like slightly above 10 pretty much. And it's something I've kind of noticed. It's just something you don't really see often in terms of price action. But you're getting like gaps in both directions. If we go over to like the lower time frames, you can see you had this gap to fill, but you kind of gapped above it. Then you went back down to fill the gap from this morning, which also lines up with this previous resistance. So there's just a lot of stuff going on over here in terms of gapping up and gapping down. It's pretty volatile. A lot of indecision is probably the clearest way I would look at the Fisker chart for right now, short term. But long term, again, you've already done the hard work. You already bottomed at $8 multiple times. You already broke out of the wedge. And right now you're just, you know, whenever you move up, the bears are kind of shooting it back down. And then whenever you go down, the bulls are kind of bringing it back up. So you're just getting price rejection to the downside and the upside. It's just going to be interesting to see which way eventually really breaks first. And only time will be able to tell. Again, that might come down to what the SPY does, how CPI looks, if there's any catalysts. But there's a lot of indecision here, and it's not just the actual price action. I mean, look at the volume. This is the highest volume that you've seen on Fisker, you know, back since over here. So it is it's a patient man's game. All right, a patient woman's game too. But yeah, those are pretty much it for all the swings in the AMC and GameStop. Nothing really crazy happened apart from that today in the earnings and stuff. Just looking through my watch list. You did have Bed Bath & Beyond go crazy. And of course, we already talked about GameStop and AMC. Even TLRY was up nicely today. It was up 10%. Let me actually take a look at a couple of these. So yeah, Bed Bath & Beyond. Let me see if there's any news. Not seeing anything here. That was up quite a bit today. And after hours, it was up another 17%. Alright, let me see if I can find anything. I'm just seeing Wall Street bets and like retail trader stuff. I'm not really seeing any actual news. I know I've done a horrible job of reading the chat, but if you know like any news for like any of the meme stocks or anything today, drop that in the chat. It might just be a price action type of day. So yeah, big move there. In terms of the actual chart, I mean after hours it went all the way up to pretty much the high of day at 1330-ish. So we're back over to the daily. So pretty much just close at this top of the wick over here. I mean, if it can hold above 1260, that is a very key level. You can see some lows here, some highs here, some lows here. It's a key level. This little zone over here, it's where your 200-day moving average also is. If you break above that, then there's not much resistance up to like $17. If you can't hold that and you kind of break down from this low of the day today, you've got a gap all the way down at 828. So I'd probably say, you know, it's in an area where in either direction it goes, there's not a lot of support or resistance. So there's a lot of range potentially. You also had TLRY today, which has been moving very, very nicely ever since it broke out of that range we were talking about back in the beginning of July. And now it's testing resistance at 441. This actually used to be a major low in fall of 2020. It's now testing that major low as resistance. If that breaks, then here are some more levels for TLRY. There you go. And I'd say support, if this rejects, could either be, you know, these highs over here around 414 or these highs over here around 370-ish.
This is that once in a lifetime.
Just reading the chat right now. I saw this post, Zeke is saying, I saw this post on Wall Street Bets that this guy was thinking he was buying Bed Bath & Beyond, which is, the ticker symbol for that is BBBY, but he was really buying Best Buy, BBY, LOL. That's actually pretty funny. I always, like, in my head, like, even when I'm talking about, like, Best Buy on stream because it's one of the swings, or even when I was just talking about Bed Bath & Beyond, I always mix those two up. I mean, it's like a one-letter difference. Always gets me. There's a few tickers like that are very similar. Like AMC and AMD, for some reason, like whenever I'm like typing it into like my brokerage or like in Discord chat or something, I just mix them up like by accident, like a lot of the time. Like there's a lot of stuff like that. What's up, Mehdi in the chat? I'm very glad that you're outside of the elevator safely. I would have had a panic attack for sure if I got stuck in an elevator. Let's get some vibes in the chat for Mehdi on his return from the elevator and his vacation. Hope that was good as well. So yeah, and then Zeke saying FCEL was a big W. Glad to hear that, and I agree with you. So yeah, if there's any ticker requests, drop them in the chat and I'll take a look. If not, I'll get out of here. Make sure to join the Discord. The link's in the description. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Let's get a 20 likes real quick. And other than that, nothing too much. Today was a pretty good day for me. My best day since May. Day trading at least. But I don't know. It is what it is. I'm not really like gonna party about it or nothing. Just it's a good day, but I need and I want a lot more good days. Alright, so IDEX. I've not looked at this in a long time. Wow. Yeah, so let's go over to the weekly on this one. Here's some key levels on the weekly time frame. It's a very choppy chart, has been for a long time. Those are some key like larger levels. Go back over to the daily. Short term, you've kind of just been in this like, I don't know, you could like call this like a triangle pattern that you're kind of testing a break out of if you look at it from a more like larger perspective. If you look at it from a shorter perspective, you may have already broken out of it. So those are your levels. That's your short-term pattern. You have earnings coming up. We'll see how that goes. So let's see. MU, it was testing a breakout of this wedge. This tea is like making my mouth dry. It was testing a breakout of this wedge, and you're kind of back in it, and then you can kind of, this kind of reminds me of the QQQ from last month, even though it broke up by now, but kind of have like this like longer term wedge with a shorter term bear flag, and you're kind of breaking down. It's kind of doing the opposite of what the Qs did. The Qs had the same formation. A lot of tech stocks had the same formation, where they had the longer term wedges, the bullish wedges, and the shorter term bear flags, but they actually broke up from the bear flags. MU is actually a little bit different, and maybe this kind of shows how it's underperforming tech in a way, even though it's had a pretty good few weeks up until the last couple of days, where it's actually not breaking out of its wedge, it's breaking down from its bear flag. And on top of that, you do have hidden bearish divergence. So if it can't rally back up in the next couple of days and reclaim the wedge and then just back test it and hopefully get above 65.60, because this support did flip into resistance over here. That was a very key level. That's kind of a pretty rough rejection. So unless you can get back above that, I mean, it's kind of a bearish breakdown in my opinion. And that's really what it is for right now. But you do have this $60 level, which was resistance on these highs. That's potentially going to be tested as support. It even dates back to highs from the beginning of 2020. So that's another key level, and then 55 under that. Then we have Walgreens, another kind of bear flag looking stock to me, with hidden bearish divergence as well. Very similar to MU actually, where it's almost like the same chart. You have the longer term wedge. It was breaking out of the wedge, but you didn't really fully break out. The one difference is MU are kind of already broke down from its bear flag. Walgreens is still in this like complete apex area where tomorrow it could either break up or break out of this falling wedge, the green lines, or break down from this bear flag. Like you can see how it's like literally at this apex area right over here. And it's probably going to need a few days of confirmation regardless. If you like break down tomorrow, you can get back up the next day. But just over the next few days, keep an eye on which structure kind of takes more importance. And then we have Tesla, which is rejecting this 200-day moving average and these highs around 950-ish, 940-ish from May and February. It was even support back in like the end of last year. So that's kind of a huge zone that you're rejecting for right now on Tesla. And then the zone to the downside I have is just under $800. So yeah, looking like a rejection for right now. And you maybe have some short-term support in this area because of that gap fill. You just really closed at it, but you got an upside gap fill at 921. You kind of just close that downside gap for the close. We did already look at TLRY. That'll be in the timestamps. Yep. And Then we have TNXP. This is probably the final one for tonight. Not much to talk about here. I don't even know where these lows are from. Wow. Why do I have those levels charted? I don't know if there was like a reverse split or like or a split or what happened here, but yeah, I have no clue where 93 and 52 cents are from. Honestly, I really can't chart this. You know, it's just too volatile. I'd probably do research. Alright, so thank you for watching the stream. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check out the links in the description. If you want to join premium, that's the first link in the description. I actually didn't even, I'll do this before I get out of here. I did alert 2 trades in premium today. This is how the options have gone lately. This is the last 14 option ideas over like the last couple of weeks in premium. There's actually one more after this, which is AMC puts we're going to talk about in a second here. Yeah, these are the recent trades in premium. Today I alerted 2 different things. The first one was SPY calls. I'm not going to go on TradingView, we're just going to do a breakdown from the Discord. But I alerted some SPY calls around shortly after noon. I saw this downsloping channel, this hidden bullish divergence. So I saw both of those. And yeah, made a nice little move. So at first it actually went down and back tested, which did drop the calls quite a bit, but I never marked them red. It eventually was able to start bouncing back up again, and in about, it looks like half an hour, the calls had moved up about 20%, 25%, and if you were scaling in the dip, not financial advice, it would have been a lot more than that too, because they dipped like a lot. And yeah, I made this nice little move up. I alerted them like around over here, made this move up here. Didn't really hit like a textbook level, but then it just started reversing. I did say keep the potential of this bear flag in mind. And then after that, I saw this, and again, AMC was up huge in the morning, but I did alert puts at a pretty nice area right over here. I alerted AMC puts. It looked like the market was breaking down a little bit. There was this triangle pattern with this partial decline, which is kind of yellow rounding top thing you see over here. It wasn't able to even touch the upper trend line, which is a bearish signal to me. And then it eventually broke down. And at first the puts were being weird. Like AMC had literally dropped like 3% in a very quick amount of time after I alerted the puts, and the puts were like the same, like they didn't even change. I was like, what's going on? Like it was the IV pretty much, and eventually did catch up, and they ran up about like 30% from where I alerted it. You can see it went up to 241. I alerted them at 186. So 2 for 2 today, pretty simple. Both went up about 30%. Calls on the SPY, puts on AMC. That's really it. So if you're interested in stuff like that, more swings, the weekly watch list, this bullseye bot from TradingTix, and some other stuff in chat that I like sharing just randomly. Like I shared a little bit of a Tesla short I took today, which played out nicely. All that good stuff, the link for that's in the description. It's the first link. So yeah, thank you for watching the stream. If you trade tomorrow, good luck, and see you tomorrow night on stream. Peace out.